Good afternoon. It was a test because I get the 2 p.m. I can't say graveyard shift, but yes, shows some energy, noise, enthusiasm. So, yeah. Thanks, Kapila and team. Uh, I think we've got a very interesting topic that is a follow-up on what you heard before lunch. It is about technology. It is about HR. It is about leveraging technology in HR to engage with the next gen workforce. When we say next gen, a lot of us immediately jump to millennials and Gen Alpha, Gen Bravo, whatever else that we hear about. But if you look at all my panelists, each one of them handle a different retail format, a format which has volume in terms of workforce, a format that has discerning and very, very different products, a workforce that probably is a mix of young and old, and to leverage and create technology in HR, in learning and development itself is not a challenge, but probably a difficult proposition if I was in their shoes. So having said that, we want to understand what are the expectations and needs when we deal with the Gen Z, the next gen, and the next set of retail leaders who are going to be sitting here when we meet again in the next 2, 3, 4 years. So moving on to see why has the rise of digital technology and how it has reshaped the learning and engagement in the retail formats that currently exist in the landscape. So I'll start with Ajin, and I'd like each panelist to talk about the role of technology in learning and development from their perspective and the formats that they handle.
Thank you so much, Ameesha. And heading the learning tech, I would say that's the most important function. I don't have a choice. But yeah, for us, managing scale and complexity is one of the biggest challenges that we have. We are kind of 40, 50 organizations rolled into one, right? So when we talk about personalization, customization, so we're not just talking about customization happening at an individual level. There are so many variables that we have to factor in. All of those become feeder. And happy to say, very recently we moved into a new learning system, which we built in-house. And one of the key features of the platform itself is how do we personalize. So it has a recommender engine built into it, 5 different variables that it considers. What is it that you're viewing? What is your peers viewing? What is your performance? Performance is yet to be linked. However, 3, 4 of the other parameters are already linked. So for us, complexity and scale is one part. Second is we have so many tools available for learning. Integration, all of this is another big area which we are building as a capability, plus also exploring alternate solutions which would make this job easy for us too. So that's in a nutshell. So we are talking about close to 2.5 lakh employee base who access one single learning platform for us.
So if you have to look at, tech and leveraging that into learning, it started more rigorously post-COVID. And during COVID, of course, everything moved online. And thereafter, we started looking at, how quickly can we reach, what is the agility that virtual platforms bring, and how can you leverage your LMS, which became LXP during that time, a little more, because AI was already flourishing, and how can you get AI to help folks to understand your product and processes a little more. While all of that has happened, my sense is that, the personal training always scores a little higher in that sense. I had a base of 16 trainers, 11 trainers, when I started. This is about 8, 9 years back. We were slowly building that, but the pace has really picked up now because the on-the-job training actually gives us more value for money, and the returns are always high. But we have also leveraged technology, as per the need, because when you see uh, engagement and the attention span that you get from folks, we were making big modules, we were expecting them to complete it. Many will start, we'll see incomplete, sheets, and we will also have to go, nudge, talk, finish karo, khatam karo, then it becomes an onus on us. And I don't know whether they are really doing it with passion or they are really learning, in that sense.
So just to interject, I think snackable content, bite-sized content, and user-generated content became the buzzword because precisely of the attention deficit that we talk about. I am going to cut you here to just say that you've paved the path for these two ladies who have pretty stringent views on what assistive blended learning outcomes and Gen Z or next gen is all about. So I'd just like you to come in here and then we can come back to this topic again.
Absolutely. So again, Landmark has various formats in retail, right? And am I audible? Yeah, thank you. So we have multiple formats, right? So what matters to us most is how quickly can our frontline folks become productive and be on the job there. So that is exactly where we have leveraged our LMS also. But coming back to your point, what has really helped us is a blended approach. So for example, when somebody joins, he gets a store buddy, and that person will actually show him how to fold the jeans. And at the end of the day, that person gets a module which shows him exactly how it should be done. And it is gamified too. So there will be options like, one option is like how my teen son would have wrapped his jean up, and one is how it is the right way to do, and one more option. What we are seeing and what we are hearing is that the workforce we have, though they might be just a 10th pass or a NAPS candidate, but they are highly engaging in digital. But they do need the personal intervention of the store coach to handhold them and tell them the right ways to do. So experience goes a long, long way, which is then reiterated by the learning approach that we have on our LMS. Would you like to add?
All right, so first, let me just say a few things which the audience here would like to listen. So technology is the buzzword for learning and development. I think everybody wants to hear this, everybody wants to talk about this. There are a lot of myths, and I'm thinking and I'm hoping that within this panel discussion we are able to unfold certain myths and mysteries around it. But there are two perspectives as far as technology is concerned within this domain. One is, of course, from a learner perspective, and the other is from the trainer perspective. So from a learner perspective, the kind of the age and the learning style that our team members really have on the floor, it's a world of on demand, right? So music on demand, films on demand, grocery on demand. So why not learning on demand, right? So it is just in time kind of a solution that we as training leads or learning leads have to really look at. The second thing is, of course, from a trainer perspective, that I would want to manage my training process more efficiently without have to be investing time in unproductive things like mapping training hours and competencies against which I'm training my people. So from a trainer perspective as well, tech, I think, has come a big way to assist us. But coming to the point, there is where I'm talking about the myth, can it really take over the feel-good factor of an in-person training? I would disagree. So let's keep talking on this particular topic, and let's see. Yeah, I know Saurabh has a point of view, so yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Saurabh has a point of view on the generation which has as we rightly say, which has an attention of a sparrow. And then Sabharatnam just spoke about bite-sized snackable content. And here we have Saurabh and Shilpi who are going to talk about, may have a different point of view on the same topic. So,
Yeah, thank you. I think, I often hear across platforms, across seminars, this very term that the attention span is less than a goldfish and how the Gen Z works and all. Let's not try to label them, my humble request, because the same generation has completed the entire series of Game of Thrones. They have binge watched it. They have binge watched Netflixes. They have binge watched Marvel series. They are ready to see Bahubali Part 1, Part 2. They are ready to go and see Chava. So the same generation who is watching K-pop is also watching Chava. What does it tell us? It tells us the technology is not more important. Attention span is not more important. The content is most important. Is the content engaging enough? That's point number one. Point number two, when we are looking at the topic, if you see the question is really about what is the role of technology, how has the learning and technology evolved. But the basic underlying premise of this entire thing, how has learning evolved? And I kind of extend the points that each one of you has made, that today with plethora of options and information available to us, and I can say that because I come from an organization where I'm dealing with 5 generations. I also have people who are there for 17, 20 years of experience and somebody who just joined 2 months back. And when I look at this, the difference that I see is the earlier generation had to scout for information, had to struggle for information, had to hustle for information, while the current generation has plethora of it. So what they really require is there anyone who can tell me which option to choose for? And that's where, as a L&D person or a HR person, our job is to play the role of a facilitator, of somebody who can pick and choose and give them what they really want. That's true meaning of hyper-personalization. So yes, blended is the approach. You need somebody to have meaningful conversation, purposeful conversation, and that's what the current generation requires. Not the latest technology, because not everybody would have the scale and the economy. So just because some other organization has picked up something, please don't go on that tech bandwagon. Yeah, ask yourself ultimately what my customer requires, because all said and done, we are all HR folks trying to solve business problem, and business problem is always posed by a customer. So the way the lifestyle of a customer is going to change, you have to change your learning style. So that would be my submission.
Absolutely. I think we are in the golden age of digitization right now, and that goes without saying. Irrespective of generations, we have our grandmothers and grandfathers use Paytm right now and Google Pay. So I think the whole idea around technology, adoption, usage, relevance, I think it's obsolete already. The main point here would be, and I think something that you touched beautifully, which is how do you make it business relevant and customer centric at the same point of time? Number one. And number two, for anything to show impact or ROI, if we may, it depends on how much of a business problem and a customer solution that you're offering together. So I think even for us as L&D professionals, what's important is any platform that we're creating should be integrated to the rest of the business and solve many other problems for us as human capital.
Ameesha, I'll add one. I think very well put, Saurabh. So tech is a solution. Right now that we have to arrive at the problem first and try to see whether which solution fits the best in a given use case. So blended there could be something which would be completely 100% web-based versus something would be completely classroom-based, but it's all derived out of my learning design and what learning outcome that I'm intending to drive.
In fact, Ajin, that's exactly what the next question would be, to say, what are the specific challenges or what are the specific processes, systems that go very well through the technology pipeline, and what is it that you like to do which is blended or assisted? The question here is, what are the challenges that you face when you look at aspirations of a large workforce? Some of you already mentioned 5 generations, so many years in the organization. What is the learning curve, and how do they adopt this seamlessly as part of their learning cycle? So is there a difference when we talk about Gen Z or a next gen adopting technology vis-a-vis somebody who's been in the organization for 20 years? And how do you see that as a challenge, and how do you mitigate the same? Anybody can take this question.
So, since you said that, I just remembered that we have folks in Zoya. Zoya is our premium store. And I was speaking to, their retail head, and she was saying that these days I get emails, probably, with the use of ChatGPT, a lot more than what it used to come earlier on. At least I used to feel that that person is writing, by thinking, and putting some use of his mind into the mail. Today, ChatGPT is doing everything, and those guys are feeling proud for the fact that everything is so good, right? So I think Gen Z certainly has caught on to this. And if I have to look at my daughter, she is Gen Alpha, and she happens to do everything with ChatGPT now, and she's saying, what is the use of studying so much? Every answer is available. So, the thought process have changed. And frankly speaking, while it is doing good to us in terms of output, I don't know how much good it is doing to them.
Absolutely. And building on that point, so this is a generation that has grown up with smart boards in their school. They are used to getting responses. Many schools encourage iPads too. So quick gratification coming their way, checkpoints, they get it right. Now imagine this generation growing up to become managers, which is already happening. And how equipped are they to deal with a multi-generational team in themselves? Are they equipped to handle things with empathy? The feedback process, how are they able to do that? And ChatGPT, I totally agree, because for them it is, I got the response right, and somebody else did the thinking of it, but the ethos of the human connect gets missed out completely. So I have people in our teams who would rather shoot a mail rather than walk up across the desk and have a conversation. Because WhatsApp, right? Easier. I don't have to see his expression when I tell him that. So no, that is a huge challenge we are going to face with this generation. Blended, digital, whatever you call it, it is that resilience, empathy, and leadership that we need to focus on.
So hold that thought. The empathy, the belongingness, the motivation, which you have in a human interface, whether it's training, whether it's touch and feel, we are talking about, and I'm sure there's lots that's been spoken about, quick commerce, as well as brick and mortar stores. And similarly in learning, when you are looking at a next set of leaders, what will work? So we'll build on that point a little later, but Neeti, you had something to say.
I just wanted to share a data point. So basically, all of us do believe that technology is important for a scale, for an impact, maybe for things like product knowledge or service and selling, which is an always on kind of a learning or training that has to happen in the retail world. But just the data point that I want to share is that, and this has come to us multiple times, that each time we do a survey with the retail employees, and when we ask them to still talk about which is their most preferred way of learning, they still say it's in person. You see that? So this is either the contradiction, or this is again the myth that I was talking about, that is it that technology is going to take a big way with the Gen Z? I don't think so. And sorry, but I don't think so. Because the fact is that they still feel that the in-person training is more rewarding. It's an real investment from the organization into me, versus a mass approach of going digital from a learning platform or other technologies that we are using. Yeah.
In In fact, I second what Neeti is saying. Deloitte did a study about 6 years ago. It was a very famous study. And they talked about what are going to be the top 10 skills that will exist a decade from now. And amongst all the tech-driven skills and financial skills, one skill that was number 6 was the people skill. Because there is no AI or robo that can replace what a human can do in terms of connect, empathy, resilience, persistence, conscientiousness, yeah, morale, values, things that we work on, engagement. You cannot have a less engaged or more engaged AI. AI is engaged. So, but there's no high, medium, or low there. So, therefore, coming back to the question that you posed, certain skills, especially related to leadership, managerial, people-facing skills will exist. And we have a great ally in AI now. So we can have in-person sessions and build around beautiful pieces of nuggets and engagement driven by technology. So they'll go hand in glove, and depending on the skill requirement, either AI will be at 60% and 40% face-to-face or human-based, or the other way around. But I think they both will exist in synergy.
And
Okay.
yeah.
Can I add a little bit more?
Yeah, I wanted you
Yeah.
and Saurabh to speak about the case that you, the baby kangaroo as well as the VR, which establishes very different point of view from the topic that we are currently discussing. We are talking about leveraging technology in learning and engagement for next gen. We also have case studies which prove that in spite of having the best of technology, and I'm literally saying the panel here has literally every format under their belt, sometimes it doesn't work or it's not successful. So,
Yeah. So we actually replicated the entire factory visit through a VR module. So anybody sitting in any place can actually see what happens in the factory, how our products are made, what goes into choosing every element, and how do we ensure, quality on every parameter that we have put up for ourselves. And we felt that, that will not only enlighten but also help the folks to engage well with our customers. It did its work, but, we were also having parallel factory visits, which were, physical visits, where we get those folks, and we were spending 16,000 rupees per person, and that was limited to around 1,000 people. This was catering to more than 25,000 people all at once. And till date, we feel that the effectiveness of a physical visit cannot be matched with the virtual VR content that we have created. And just a couple of months, I had a chat with my MD, and he said, Sabha, we need to get at least 10,000 folks to our factory. Today we are doing 1,000. And when factory heard that, they said, oh God, it's going to be a very big target, and we have agreed at 6,000. So, very clearly, the effectiveness of a physical visit where they get to see, engage, talk, communicate, sense, all that comes alive. And they are better, in consulting with customers when they go back. So, very, very clear example here.
Thank you, Sabha. Very similar experience. We have something called as a distribution center, which is our warehouse. And the first time managers, we were actually contemplating, should we really take them to the warehouse, to the store, or even before onboarding, can we have a simulation and an experience? So the first time I saw VR goggles, and this was about 5 years back, I was ecstatic. So the vendor was talking, and this was a similar kind of a setup where I met the vendor partner, I tried everything, and she very patiently heard me out, my queries. Then towards the end, she asked me, where do you want to use this? And I told that this is my requirement. And her question to me was, is it fatal? And I said, no, it's not fatal. So I said, the best case why this simulation came was so that the person doesn't have to get into any kind of a unsafe or fatal environment. So why are you even trying this? Lesson I learned, we don't have to use a technology just because it is in, just because it's trending. We took our first time managers to the distribution center. And when they saw the people working over there, they felt the heat, they felt the navigation in that physical location. It was a different experience altogether. So we may be able to give them the kind of skill, we'll be able to leverage on the scalability, but the ultimate experience and the ultimate feeling that you want to build in would come only through physical and human interaction. So I think both of them would go through.
I'm just going to, for a minute, say that we've already come to a point where we feel that blended is the way to go. But when you have large workforce, Ajin, I immediately look at Ajin. I'm like, okay, Reliance.
So I don't want to sound like a flag bearer for technology. So I don't know how many of you have tried interacting with ChatGPT, speaking to it, either Gemini or ChatGPT. A show of hands. Like human beings, like many human beings, it's very good at mimicking empathy. For now, we might feel some part of their responses are forced, but very soon, because now the entire AI landscape, especially the Gen AI landscape, there is a huge competition there. Very soon, I would be having a conversation with my career mentor who is not a real person. So for now, I believe you're right. For many of, again, I would put the problem first than the solution. What problem are we trying to solve? If the best way to solve that problem is giving people experience, like a factory visit, right? VR is only the visual part of it, but what about the rest of it? What about the other senses? Can I, maybe, okay, hearing also, touch, feel, smell. The day VR is able to solve that, you never know. You never know. So at scale, it's not just a function of scale only. I would believe what is possible today from a technology point of view. And basis what is possible today, a lot of output or outcome that we are intending from an instructor-led session could be achieved through technology as well. But again, it's a function of what is the problem that you are trying to solve. Like a process training, it can be completely 100% web-based.
So in our case, we leverage technology beautifully because we are also spread across the country, right? How do we bring that similar culture along? You know, the same ethos or feeling for a brand. So one of our formats that is lifestyle that uses something called as Lifestyle Ka Genius. Now this for me is a brilliant format because right from the store level, they have this quiz competition which focuses on knowledge nuggets, which could be process, product, people. And then they roll it up and they do a massive national level event where they, appreciate learners who have ranked, come up the ranks and scored it. For me, it's a win in both ways because we are leveraging technology to ensure that stores across the country are talking the same language when it comes to the 3 pillars of people, process, and product. Topping it, I'm also bringing my teams together. So my North regional office suddenly, in a competitive spirit, is talking to my South regional office also, right? How did you do this? How is your store scoring so well, right? And that is where our HR team scores of leveraging the approach of having technology at the right places. So definitely when you say scalability is wonderful, what we also leverage in our learning is the vernacular ability because we do translate as much as cost allows our programs into the vernacular language.
I think,
Sorry,
please do.
Can I just have-
Absolutely, Neeti. Vernacular and multilingual is the way to go because a large part of our workforce, at least in the stores and warehouses, are probably not at that level of education that everybody only understands English or Hindi. So I think especially down south, Gujarat, these are the places, Bengal, we have to translate. And yes, Neeti.
No, because she raised a very critical point, which is vernacular, right? So, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, English is the most common language across India. But I also, since I deal with multiple countries, 128 countries within my market, for me, technology has proven really useful in terms of providing tailor-made content to my teams who spread across from Morocco to New Zealand. So you can imagine the kind of languages that we have to deal with. Every season when we do product learning decks, right? So not decks, basically product learning content. It's huge content. And it's just next to impossible expecting someone sitting in Turkey to be then investing time in translations. So tech has come big way there for us in terms of scalability to be able to then translate all the material or the content that we have. Then all that my trainer in some part of the world has to do is just review, validate that the terminology is fine, language is fine, and that's about it. So it saves our time, plus it helps the learners to learn in their own language, which is so critical for our business. Yeah.
I'm just extending these points with case. Again, two used cases. One, we had a SOP. We still have that, but it was in a physical form, 550 pages running, retail SOP. And obviously, standardization process to be followed. So everybody, we used to have training programs and all. But we built in our in-house generative AI-based kind of a chatbot, taking a cue from ChatGPT. And suddenly we see that that entire thing was taken care by that one single chatbot. We call it Sarthi. On an average today, we get in a week's time 373 unique user cases. By now, 5,500 queries have been asked, multiple, and that's the kind of usage. So for SOP to work fine. So we said, okay, does it work only for redundant, scalable, mundane kind of option? So we built another platform where we wanted to hear the bottom-up communication. We wanted to hear what the employees are thinking, their thoughts and inputs. So we initially built in a QR code-based platform where anyone could submit any idea. But the challenge was whenever they got the form and they typed it, again, it was all, English, which they couldn't express. And finally, we couldn't get to understand what exactly they wanted to say. So now we have a voice-enabled, AI-generated kind of a thing where you just have to speak. The AI actually translates the idea in English, further translates into what the end customer or the employee wants to say and what could be the solution for it. Imagine the amount of time, energy that we have saved, the amount of precision that we have got. But it just shows two things. As humans, we are lazy. We basically want to save time on all the mundane things. And what do we do with that time? With all this chat GPT and other things, finally by saving
watch
time.
reels.
Sorry?
We watch reels.
Exactly. Or we want to go out for socializing. We want to have party. We want to connect with people. And therefore, we see a similar rise in the employee engagement programs, volunteering programs, where people want to experience. What does it show? What is the lesson to be learned? All the routine, mundane things I want to save time on. I want to make time for real human connect. I want to make time to socialize. And that's the way of learning. I want options.
So just
on a
adding
side-
to what Saurav said, just pardon me, my CDIO recently spoke to all of us and he said that, all the left brain things have to be leveraged with technology and all the right brain things have to be done, by us. And
For now.
if you listen to what the conversation, the panel is having, kind of indicates that, correct? And just adding a little bit on that technology front and the language bit, my trainer happens to visit African countries and Southeast Asia. And Southeast Asia, these guys are very poor in English. They don't understand. The speed really irritates them, and then they don't understand the pronunciation and the way in which it is communicated. So he said, this is a big challenge, boss, iska kuch solution nikalna padega. So I searched, what can I do to give a live translation happening on the screen for our folks. And we figured out a company not based out of India, it was based out of US. And these folks were doing a very good job. It's called Worldly. And we leverage that platform. So if I'm training you folks, I put a a giant screen. While I'm speaking, it will translate. And it will translate in their local language so that they can see and understand. And it has been, very, very effective for us, especially in countries like Vietnam, Burma, Egypt. Arabic, has become a very difficult language for us, but the screen actually displays everything.
I think this is a brilliant example where you've actually solved a problem using technology, leveraging it in the right sense of the word here, right? And also, somewhere I feel that AI is helping us with the human aspect because you sensitized the local.
The good part of the technology is that if you work on the glossary, you will not go wrong in the translation.
Yes, absolutely.
So we kept on building the glossary for AI, and today it is near perfect. There is not one mistake, is what I'm told. So we have gone to that extent.
So there's one thing, seriously and not kidding, we have our own at Welspun. I have about 25,000 is my workforce at Welspun living, spread across locations. So I have a huge manufacturing setup as well. And we are extremely technology driven as an organization, very high on technology, old economy, manufacturing, sunset industry, textiles, very high. So from the best of tools, from Power BI to others, we use it. So we have something called an internal chatbot called Chitty. Okay, and this is a beautiful chatbot, type, voice. But then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we realized that people wanted to interact with Chitty, the person. So based on that, we actually created a robo. So there's this 1.5 foot robo called Chitty. And very recently, we did road shows with Chitty all over our locations in India. So the whole idea is the chatbot was there on your computer screen, but we still wanted to meet Chitty. And more than my promoter, who's herself a beautiful page 3 celebrity, everybody wanted selfies with Chitty. So telling you as to how technology beautifully works, but you still need a face, the touch and feel behind it.
Yeah, so isn't it the crossover between tangible and intangible that technology is helping us navigate?
It does, and very beautifully. I mean, your examples have said you cannot do without technology. That's a given. It's all pervasive. It's there in all walks of our lives. So why not in learning and development? But there are pieces which require human touch, human interaction, humanization or personification even of a robot or a chatbot. But having said that, we talk about ChatGPT, AI, ML, AR. What next? Today you've built a system, an LMS, a learning management system, which is probably few, I don't know how much what kind of monies, but it is expensive. It's not that affordable. And if you build that system, tomorrow the next technology comes. How agile or nimble are these organizations to pivot to the requirement of that technology? Otherwise, going back to the Gen Z, their attention span, their usage of content changing so fast, from a Facebook to a Instagram to now a Snapchat and then Threads and Reddit. If you have to traverse all of that within these systems, it's difficult. So any one of you can take this to say, what happens next in terms of the new age technologies that are going to come up next 3 years' time? How ready are you to pivot? And we also, after that, will come to the productivity in terms of how we can leverage technology and how a company or an organization can be more productive.
I just want to say something that I don't know if I'll be alive by then, but just that it is a challenge. It is a challenge, and I'm going to be honest accepting it, because it gets it takes a lot of time for us to really create that learning mindset, getting them used to, though we still say that Gen Z, etc., and the newer generation on the floor still would like to learn more digital based. And as I had already shared an example of what came out of our surveys, it is definitely blended learning. But it takes still time for the learning mindset to be built, you know. All said and done, I agree that you said that they watch series and they watch it at length, but we also have a data point where we looked at how they are skipping from one module to another online. So they are doing multiple modules but not spending enough time in one particular module, no matter how engaging the content is. So it got to us to a point where we had to really bring in some challenges, competition, build that culture of using the digital platforms or digital ways of learning. So I will be honest enough to say that I really don't know if the new technologies come in, how much time will it take, how agile I will be, my people will be, and my learner group would be.
And to weigh in here, she's got a point here saying, when we're talking of changing technology, what we're not realizing is that it's humans who will be training that technology. And in one of the previous roundtables, the discussion was, what is the input decides the output, right? So irrespective of the technology we are moving or pivoting to, ensuring that the human aspect of what we are focusing on as learning custodians, I think will be the primary challenge that we are facing. Systems can be scalable, investment can be step-based, ladder-based, so that is something I think in this changing world we all have accustomed to. But what remains is problem solving. What are we solving for? And I think that will be the guiding or the North Star for all of us as we navigate this.
I think if I look at it, for all the science students here who have studied science, there's something called systems thinking, which is that the entire world and our environment is interconnected, right? And we all naturally will go towards zero, which is the balance. The same thing applies when we remove our L&OD hats and wear the human capital or the business transformation hat, which is that, one, am I investing enough as an organization to build in-house tech centers, because eventually they seem to be more cost effective, also a lot more nimble and agile, so that we create something today, an LMS today, which is also ready for the future for next 5 years, because I think the future is no more than 5 years now. The generation gap has also shrunken from a decade to 5, right? So the future, 5 saal tak hum dekh le, sufficient, uske baad none of us has actually a real-time point of view as to where we are heading. But if today I'm investing in something which is ready for the next 5 years to expand, contract, move, I think we have done our job, and therefore it's important to look at that aspect, and a big nudge to organizations to again relook at the strategies of not outsourcing technology but to in-house it like we've done, and it works beautifully because my LMS is in-house built now. So it's called WellPro. So I can do whatever I want with it for the next 5 years to be able to service for the next 5 years.
I let Sabha and Ajin have a point of view, but that's another panel discussion. So whoever is looking at tech, that is in-house versus outsourcing, SaaS versus building a full army inside, is another panel discussion. I'll have to tell Kumar and Lawrence that we can actually look at that. Because I'm sure sitting here, they might have a diverse view on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So if you have to ask me, I have changed my platform to different types at least 3 times in the last 5 years. Okay, so 5 years is not the count for me, and one, you need to be very vigilant on what changes are happening. You also need to sense and spot the trend. It's also important to see how you are delivering and what impact is it having on your business. It's very, very important for us. And hence, the requirements also keep changing internally. So while the external environment is changing, the internal requirements also change. And all these changes happened because of these two. So what we have done is, one, of course, a large trainer base spread across the world. So how do you get their data in one place? Then, so many learners. So how do I know whether they are learning, they are progressing? So that data also has to come in one place. So no matter what the technology is, this requirement is not going to change. Hence, I need to see if I'm becoming more agile with technology rather than, using it only for namesake. Like the way we saw, we shouldn't be just adding because it's a cost. And believe me, when I have been asking this question on ROI, on technology, I haven't got even one person who could tell me that I measure this. Because everybody is investing, they have no time to measure. Finally, we also need to look at that now because it is adding to your cost. So you have to see whether it is benefiting, whether you are really seeing, a marginal or an extra potential growth in that sense.
LMS should have been dead at least a decade ago. And we are the ones to be blamed. For last 15 odd years of my experience, 10 साल तक I have seen LMSs. So my natural inclination is LMS तो होना चाहिए. Where do we spend most of our time? On a mobile phone, if you have to distribute, I'm sure most of the time would be spent either on a WhatsApp or maybe an email or maybe some of the other apps, work or non-work related. Why can't learning be there? So our hunger, number one, to have an LMS, and number two, data. LMS to a great extent is nothing but a system of records. It helps us capture everything. So the whole logic of creating an LXP or the so-called tin can APIs was to ensure that I'm able to capture distributed amount of data. But again, we wanted everything at one place. Again, market ne demand kiya, that's what they delivered. Right, so if all of us come together and say, it's not about where, one place where they have to go to learn. They can learn from anywhere. I can learn from YouTube. I just need the data, right? Is there a way, is there a mechanism? I'm sure using some AI tech wizardry, we will be able to capture that. If I am able to build that, I believe, as I said, it has outlived itself, LMS. That's one side of it. Second, the technology, what you asked, the future. Wearables. I don't know how many of you have experienced a Vision Pro. I have. Expensive today. 5 years from now, everyone would be wearing a device while working. So we have a co-pilot with me who is seeing what I'm seeing. And he will give me a real-time nudge, don't do this. Or maybe do this. Step one, do this. Step two, do. So the question, why should I learn? If there is an AI who is going to give me a step-by-step instruction, so all your process-related trainings are in some form or way going to die very soon, the moment it gets produced in mass. Right, so we have GeoTesseract, which is one of the companies which you acquired. They've built a beautiful system. So I wear that, it has a pass-through and a very extremely high fidelity. And basis what it has been trained on, and with generative AI now and computer vision, it is actually able to see, understand the context and tell me what I'm doing wrong or what is it the next thing that I should be doing. So LMS को बंद करने का time आ गया, वो पहले हो गया था. But just because we are so gung ho and we say that नहीं LMS तो चाहिए, why learning कैसे होगा नहीं तो? Right.
So Ajin has brought us to the last part where we are saying that there are companies who may want to emulate the learning, the technology, the engagement with their workforce. And he's already given his 2 bits of what not to do. I would like each one of them to give 30 seconds to tell the young companies, the new age companies who are just starting out, what is it that they need to be careful while engaging their workforce via technology for learning and engagement.
Can I? For me to complete this in 30 seconds, I'll have to do a chat GPT. So
30 seconds because we also want to open up for questions. So yeah, I'm going to push them.
So I'll make it quick, taking a point from this. We talk about LXP, we talk about LMS, and we forget that we talk more about the management system and the tech app. The first word is learning. And that's the whole purpose. How's my learner learning? We started talking about AI in 1969, but it was only ChatGPT in 2023 when it came in our hand, the end consumer, it exploded. And today everybody wants to use it. So the way people want to learn has changed. And therefore we need to change, relooking at whether should I go for tech, should I go for this or that, and ask a real question, how do my learners want to learn? If they want to learn using gamification, they want to use theater, they want to use experiences, going outdoors, so be it. So tech alone is not the solution, but yes, wherever you have experiences, tech is just going to expedite it, make it scalable, make it measurable, because ultimately, at the end of doing all these things, it's your business, your management who's going to ask, kitna deti hai? And we have to show the ROI.
Curiosity is age and gender agnostic. And I think the whole generational baby boomer XYZ is overrated. Till you are able to create what's in it for the person, they will hook on to any content using any technology.
Quick one from me, and I second that. Please also let's understand how our learners would like to learn, because it also comes from the fact, the kind of products and the format that they are selling in. So let's not just keep this as a bias that this is how they would like to learn, but really asking them. And secondly, also as an organization, let's prioritize what needs scalability from a competency point of view, what needs more attention at an individual level, and then take our decisions where we would want to invest.
Absolutely. And I totally agree how learners learn is a priority, but we do run a business at the end of the day. And ensuring that the right knowledge reaches the right people somewhere is equally important. That's why we need our channels. Now, the channel might change, and that is the choice we are making. And when you choose your challenge or medium of conveying, I think what matters most is you need to keep it very simple, you need to keep it scalable, and most importantly, it should suit your need, your volume, your target audience. And that's all that matters when you are leading it. And if I could just take 2 more seconds here, we just launched a new brand called Max Urban under our Max umbrella. And we didn't go very high tech in that. However, we leveraged a lot of simulation videos because the ethos of the brand took birth in the corporate office. But the sales was happening in my store. And that whole ethos was conveyed through this challenge of LMS, which should have been dead, but which helped us a lot in conveying it. And it met our purpose, right? At the end of it, they're all speaking the same language, and the brand thrives. So, yeah, for me, LMS or whichever channel is irrelevant as long as it delivers.
So my 30 seconds, if you tell me something, I will forget. If you teach me, I'll remember for some time. But if you involve me, I will learn. This was said by Benjamin Franklin, and I hold that very, very strongly. Whatever you do, whether it is tech or no tech, involvement is very, very important. As long as I am engaged and I am involved, I will do what is required. If I am not engaged and if I not knowing what is the purpose and what will it benefit, I will not do it. So we'll have to see and choose avenues accordingly in order to get that as an output.
So, Ameesha, you were referring to new organizations, small organizations.
New, small, or somebody who wants to embark on this journey. It could be a large existing modernizing retail. You see a lot of people today who are attending are probably attending a summit here because they have decided to expand. They have decided that from a promoter-led business, they want to professionalize and increase the footprint of their stores or their formats across. That is, those businesses, when they embrace technology for learning and engagement, should they, shouldn't they, and what is it that they need to take care of?
For me, it's a simple risk versus return ratio. If the returns are extremely high, take the risk. What it is solving as a problem, take that risk. At least you learn something out of that, right? And if the returns are not too much, then you may want to maybe go out and buy a very simple model. So I have if I have time, a 4B. So all of us are aware of the talent management process, build, borrow, buy. That same could be applied for tech as well. Build करना है, buy करना है, borrow करना है, एक और B है bridge, which is we have multiple technologies which I earlier spoke of. I have a WhatsApp, I have a YouTube. Is there one underlying layer of tech which kind of captures all the information and is sending out relevant content and learning nudges to the individual basis some of the other data that it is capturing? Right, so risk versus return, if it makes sense, I think that's the best.
I think in the interest of time, we had 2 more tracks. One was to see how accessible is our content or learning mechanism for people from diverse backgrounds, whether it is LGBTQI, whether it is persons with disability, any kind of a diverse group, how are we addressing them through technology? I don't think we have time for that, but that's food for thought for you guys also. And the second thing that I would ask Sabha to take it up in the next session, because you're anyway doing the metrics, is the cost versus value delivery. I think each one of them touched upon the ROI part of it. It's a larger discussion, and that is something that we should probably continue it in the next session. But we'll open it up for questions. If anybody has a question before we summarize this discussion. Lady there.
Hello. Hi, so Pratiksha here from Reliance Retail. Am I audible? Yeah. Pratiksha here from Reliance Retail. Anyone can answer. So it's just a random thought out of curiosity regarding the topic. So we are saying enhancing the technology, right? So is it that we are enhancing the technology or we are enhancing the learning and engagement using technology? So it's like equivalent to saying digital transformation over business transformation. So business transformation, one of the solutions could be digital transformation, not other way around. So yeah.
Can I just say that you've got the crux of the entire panel discussion. So this is exactly what we are really trying to say in our 30 seconds, is that look at enhancing learning using the digital solutions, but not really focusing on digital solution per se alone. Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions? No? Okay, so we'll just summarize this. I think
Hi everyone in the panel and the audience. I'm Ameesha Prabhu and I represent Personal. We are a large staffing company. We have also introduced LMS into our industry and into our company. What we generally face is we do a lot of bulk hiring, volume hiring for all strata, right from the blue collar to the white collar and the gray collar. When it comes to the blue collar, what is the kind of solutions that have been actually developed in each of your organizations? I would like to know that.
Ma'am, one of them can answer that.
Anyone, whoever has started something like that.
For the frontline staff, if we have something.
So-
Something like that. Yeah.
So I'll quickly answer.
Yeah.
We have gone into theatre-based training, where they would see things acted on stage and understand what we want to convey. We won't expect them to read or write anything.
Exactly.
It's all demonstration, and it is all situation-based. So if there are situation-based stories, you keep narrating those stories time and again, repeatedly, so that it becomes a habit for them. There is no other method that we use.
Have you all also done anything in vernacular languages? I mean, something in a Marathi, a Telugu,
Yes, yes.
or something in Kannada? Because
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
is what people...
We discussed that. I think
Absolutely.
you just came in. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank
It
you
is
so
done in regional language only.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
so
Thank
a
you.
lot of our foundational courses, like a fiber to a fabric kind of concept, is definitely available in most languages, because that's the core of our business and everybody needs to know that. And that is best expressed in your own language. So definitely that's there.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Surendra from Reliance Retail. Just a quick one that we all are really gung-ho about the technology and learning on the go, right? But at the same time, what I also believe that people skills are also really important. To specifically for the Gen Z, now the question is that are they the loneliest workforce ever? Are we moving towards that? Because what I believe is that the people skills, we are not getting those people skills for them. I mean, technology is there. And then is it the future because of the remote jobs, remote work, work from home? People are also specifically asking for work from home jobs. But somewhere down the line, are we moving towards lowliest workforce ever, specifically for Gen Z?
That's a bias, sir. Again, it's a statement. It's an academic thing that we have read that Gen Z wants to be lonely and want to be alone. I don't think so. My son is almost a Gen Z and quite a social being. I come from a sports industry, and there are young people who are still joining sports. That's the best example that you can really have about human behavior, right? So they still want to play in a team. Had those guys or those girls been, or those people had been individual players, there would never be a sport in future for us. So I can just give example from my sports world.
So if everyone goes into a shell, or let's say they are the loneliest, then it's a norm. क्यों करना है फिर? That becomes the new normal, right? Why do I want to disturb the apple cart by saying नहीं मैं आपको people skills सिखाऊंगा? So what becomes the problem, or what problem are we trying to solve? If that individual who is lonely is supposed to do a next thing, then करना चाहिए. But
Thank you for patiently listening to all of us. And just to add on to your point, thank God retail is not an industry that believes in work from home. Large part of us have to come and be in the stores, interact with people. So anybody who feels lonely should join retail, because that's not an option there. So, and I personally tell in a lot of places where we address young students that once in your life, work in a retail store. It humbles you, it creates a sense of ownership, and there is a huge amount of camaraderie when you talk to an unknown person who's your customer. So having said that, we're just going to say that in summary, each one of us believe that technology is the path to doing a lot of good things in learning and engagement. It could be through a dinosaur LMS. It could be through a podcast, and like tomorrow the VR goggles. It could be through radio, because like Sabha said that I could learn through learning, I could learn through listening, I could learn through watching. So it could be a podcast, which is something which is gaining popularity. And it could be all of what we spoke about, blended, assistive, human touch, spiced up with technology learning. And that is what each one of us has to take back, because finally it's the learner, and he's only going to be engaged with the content, whatever be the medium. Thank you so much.